Alrighty. 601. All yours, Stephen.
Okay, got it. Okay, here we go. 7:01. All right, Monday the 31st. That all looks right. Okay, welcome to School for A Course in Miracles, beginners class. Um, Mondays in the manual, also it's referred to. Thanks to Tim and Lynn for the opportunities to lead these classes or present in these classes or facilitate these classes. Or I almost never use the word teach because we teach peace to learn it. So everybody's a teacher all the time. Anyway, I'm Stephen, living in San Antonio from New Orleans. I do think we have a couple people who might not know that. And so saying that right away. Did some sequencing, which I do that a lot in my life. I'm trying to do it less because it's probably an order of difficulties thing that I've been doing for 40 years or so. And Jim was the first one in today. So Jim's going to start us out with an opening meditation. Let's see. Any questions so far? Just kidding. Let's see. Let's go to lesson 191 on page 364 in the workbook. I'm hoping to be a little better at those kinds of pronouncements as we go along. The last time I was a little bit challenged on getting out the pages and stuff. So we're on page 364 in the workbook, paragraphs 10 and 11. Jim's going to read those for us. The title of the lesson is "I am the Holy Son of God Himself." You there, Jim? Jim Tynan?
I'm there. Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, lessons 10 and 11. Could you read those, and then we'll take a minute or two.
Sure.
Thank you.
Lesson 191. I am the Holy Son of God Himself. Paragraph 10. Then let the Son of God awaken from his sleep, and opening his holy eyes, return again to bless the world He made. In error it began, but it will end in the reflection of His holiness. And He will sleep no more and dream of death. Then join with me today. Your glory is the light that saves the world. Do not withhold salvation longer. Look about the world and see the suffering there. Is not your heart willing to bring your weary brothers rest? They must await your own release. They stay in chains till you are free. They cannot see the mercy of the world until you find it in yourself. They suffer pain until you have denied its hold on you. They die till you accept your own eternal life. You are the Holy Son of God Himself. Remember this, and all the world is free. Remember this, and earth and heaven are one.
Thank you, Jim. We'll take a minute. Okay. Jamie, come back, please. Let's see. The caveats, I always give these caveats. I might do this because every once in a while I'll do this. And I'll remember that I'm doing this, and then I'll put it down. If someone raises their hands, please let me know. I have everybody on the screen, I think, but if I get 3 more, I won't, because I can only get, 20 on here. So we're at 18 right now, in case anybody's keeping track, Rebecca. I'm gonna today we're in the manual with how will the world end, but I'm gonna start out with some general comments. I've done that before with this, and it's kind of a warm up for me, and it maybe get some smiles. It seemed to me that everything I'm talking about here is relevant to the subject. But I broadened that out. I broadened that way out as far as how the world will end. Then I brought it back in, and it goes like this: street preachers say the end is near. They speak with urgency. Their words are couched in fear and images of doom. Fire and brimstone proponents do the same from the pulpits, and all religions equate death with the end of the world for the individual. Ken Watnick said that last one. Biblically, there's the rapture, the 7 horsemen of the apocalypse, something about a new earth and 1,000 years of peace. I don't know if I ever found that one, but I've heard about it a lot. I know it's in there somewhere. There's the second coming of Christ. Let's see, and an epic battle with the Antichrist. Of course, there's with the end of the world. There's Yogi Berra. He's a working man's philosopher of the highest order. He said it ain't over till it's over. He also said something about it ain't over till the nice lady sings. T.S. Eliot. He's famous for this one. It says almost exactly the same thing in the section that we're going to be going over. T.S. Eliot said, "This is the way the world ends, not with a bang, with a whimper." That's from his poem, "The Hollow Men," and it's probably prophetic. I think a whimper sounds closer to the way it's going to be. I mean, according to Jesus, in the way I read the text. Also, Albert Camus, existential philosopher. I have a note here, show book. We did this book, From Futility to Happiness, what Sisyphus of every man. Albert Camus said about the end of the world, he said, don't wait for the last judgment. It takes place every day. That's of course relevant also, I think. Next, I have a quotation here. It's a real good reference. It's what is it? Macmillan's Dictionary of Quotations. It's huge. It's only like 800 pages, but it's small print. Probably as big as a course. Anyway, under the heading of Doomsday, this is from Matthew's Gospel. 29 through verses 29 through 31. Immediately after the tribulation of these days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the 4 winds, from one end of the heavens till the other. Wow. Pretty good, huh? Kind of. A little bit dramatic, but the Bible gets that way a lot. And we won't get to that too much. A little bit more here in a few minutes. There was, of course, an end of the world doomsday prediction. That was December 21st, 2012. That was my first and only end of the world party. that on that day. That was a Mayan calendar prediction, and a lot of people bought into it. And there were a lot of end of the world type parties. I was amused by that, of course. We were dancing, and December 22nd came around just like it always had. Or REM took up the subject of the song with the song, "It's the end of the world as I know it." As we know it, excuse me. That's why I'm doing this instead of being a rock and roller. But "It's the end of the world as we know it" was a huge hit, because and people were laughing and smiling about it. And some people were saying they shouldn't be saying that, because that's the way we are. There are probably few humans who haven't considered what the end of the world might be. An asteroid, Earth diverging from its axis, brought about by cumulative earthbound disasters like earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, and various acts of God as they are known. Of course, as we know, kind of like most of the Old Testament, God wouldn't do that. It wouldn't happen that way. Anyway, the Old Testament kind of bothered me when I read it, because there was a lot of violence and there was a lot of death, and God seemed to be kind of mean, Anyway, changing course, and pun intended, Bruce. As these puppet dream figures caught up in the winds of time and space, the end of the world for us is death. According to World Watch Institute, 100 million people have died in wars since 1914. That seemed to be the end of the world for them. Okay, so what does the course say? What never began can have no end. Lesson 32 says, lesson 132 in the workbook on page 243 says this: there is no world. This is the central thought the course attempts to teach. It also says in that lesson, the world is nothing in itself, and today's idea is true because the world does not exist. On page 589, paragraph 1 says, clear as a bell, this world was over long ago. I was going to read all three of these paragraphs, but that one's so good, I think we should probably go to it. It's on page 589 of the text, paragraph 1, please. That's chapter 28, The Undoing of Fear. It's the first section, the present memory, and it's also the first paragraph. Jerry, are you there?
Yes, page 581 in the text.
589.
589, okay.
The Undoing of Fear, the Present Memory, the paragraph 1 on page 589.
Okay. The miracle does nothing. All it does is to undo, and thus it cancels out the interference to what has been done. It does not add, but merely takes away. And what it takes away is long since gone, but being kept in memory appears to have immediate effects. The world was over long ago. The thoughts that made it are no longer in the mind that thought of them and loved them for a little while. The miracle but shows the past is gone, and what has truly gone has no effects. Remembering a cause can but produce illusions of its presence, not effects. Well, the world is gone. I mean, it's already past, and we're just living in the memories. We're just living with all our illusions, but the world's gone.
That's good, Jerry. Thank you. So the world's already ended then.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else on that paragraph? Rebecca?
Sorry, line 7 after, so the world, this world was over long ago. The thoughts that made it are no longer in the mind that thought of them and loved them for a little while. That really stands out. Like we always talk about how we projected the world, but we literally projected the world, you know. That's a big one. That's all I got.
Thank you. I did the same thing. That's what brought me to that paragraph. I wasn't going to read any of these 3 paragraphs because I wanted to make sure we got through the entire section. But those 2 sentences kind of blew me away a little bit. That's an old term from the 70s, I think. Could have been 60s. Blew me away. Y'all remember that? No, just kidding. Anybody else on that paragraph? Oh, Bruce Ross.
Well, this actually isn't about the paragraph. I'm already I'm back on the Mayan calendar, and if anybody happened to see, there's a cartoonist named Dan Ferraro who does this cartoon called Bizarro. He had this cartoon that I thought was a hoot. It showed this Mayan artisan on this chiseling away on this huge disc, which was going to be the Mayan calendar, and he's talking to a buddy while he's working. He says, "Boy, I just ran out of room." And he says, "Do you think this will freak somebody out someday?" It just struck me funny. I thought that was a great cartoon. Yeah.
We've been doing that kind of thing for 1,000 years, right? for 5,000, depending on how far did the Druids go back? Never mind.
Quite amazing.
Okay. Anyone else? Hi, Aris.
Hi, Stephen. It's the first time I really thought about the world was over long ago, and the thought that made it are no longer in the mind that thought of them. But so we're all living in the past. We talk about living in the past. We're just living in the memory of what used to be. That shows how much of an illusion we're living in. We're refusing to wake up and see that it's not even here. It never struck me quite so much as now.
Yeah, that happens to us every once in a while. I've been doing this course for quite a while, and a few months ago I realized I was never born. Where do I think I'm going? Anyway, I've said that enough. I've said that in like 3 classes now, so everybody knows about it. I'll try to put it behind me. And anybody else about anything? Hi, Sakina. I didn't see you come in. I didn't write you down.
Lisa has something, Stephen.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you.
Okay, I suppose I'm just distracting myself with this question, but it says the world was over long ago. That means, in a way, within the illusion, it did exist at one point for an instant. So is there no world, or was there a world? Was there never a world? Or was it there were a world and it's now over?
Wow. Dave, you got something on that?
Well, just seemed to exist would be
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
to look at that. Yeah.
Anybody else have something on that? I do.
It seems like a classic "How did the impossible occur" variation. That none of us want to grapple with because we were also invested in the world, but the course spells it out pretty clear. It's like, well, if it didn't ever happen, any question that seems to make it real is just a variation on asking ourselves, well, how did the impossible occur? In truth, it didn't.
But it says the world was over long ago. Never mind.
So the world was over long ago. The thoughts that thought up the world are all past thoughts. But I'm thinking right now, it goes back to the early workbook lessons. All my thoughts are meaningless because they're just past thoughts.
Mhm.
I'm just replaying things that already happened. And then the crowning, you got to be kidding, is none of this happened at all. Ain't no world, ain't no past thoughts, could never be a past, could never be any of that stuff. Yeah, Javier is not even raising her hand, so that's good. She's okay with all this.
Cool.
I, um, it is hard. It is so hard
Mhm.
to think about this. I mean, no, I'm not there. I'm still here, living the illusion, thinking that is real. So this is too much, but I am here in the class. I'm open, but it's hard to understand. I mean, I can say it, but I don't believe it. So I'm here because I want to believe it. Thank you.
Thank you, Javier. We're going to clear a little bit of that up for all of us today, I hope. Because anyway, your question, I heard Wapnick say 2 or 3 times lately, why would you ask that question about the past when what's happened is happening right now? That's the first thing. The second thing is, I forgot the question, but I had 2 things. What was the question again? I'm sorry. The world was over long ago. And anyway, the Course says there was a tiny tick of time. Unequivocal. The Course says into eternity, what is it? There crept a tiny mad idea at which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. No equivocation there either. That crept into eternity. And don't get me started on all that, but the Course says that, both of those things. The Course says the carpet and I was going to say that anyway. The carpet rolled out, and in the same instant, it rolled back. But it did roll out, according to what the Course says. But if it rolled back in the same instant, did it really happen? I mean, you can equivocate on that one. Way cool. Lynn Altman.
Yeah, I just try to keep remembering that Jesus is speaking to us where we think we are. And he's trying to emphasize that everything that we've made very real and significant for us has no meaning. And it's for us to learn to go beyond what we've attached meaning to. So it's not so much about nothing happened is the Course's, that's like the level 1, I guess. Nothing happened. There's only God, there's only heaven. But because we think we're here, he's got to address that idea. And essentially he's saying, you don't have to worry, honey. The world was over. None of this is real. You're home. That's what I hear in it. You don't have to worry.
That's excellent, Lynn.
So in other words, Jesus lies to us all the time because we're all a bunch of liars anyway. It's just he's a nice liar. He tells nice, gentle lies to make us feel better.
Well, he has to help us not be so afraid. He's not trying to take it all away from us. He's trying to help us, just even have that thought just float by, but not need to do anything about it because he's giving us forgiveness as the practice here where we think we are. So it's very kind.
It is. And he calls us honey. So I guess we could call him darling, right? I mean, I would say that. Never mind. Okay. Let me do this and we'll get to the, let's see. Oh yeah, there was one more of those. In the text on page 443, paragraph 7, couple great paragraphs there. The course says this world is an hallucination. You know, just like the sleeping dreams. Really? Yeah, really. That really? Yeah, really? I got that from Tim. I like, anyway. So Jesus tells us a little bit of a wrap up here. Jesus tells us over and over in a multitude of ways, there is no world. This world was over long ago. All this an hallucination. There seemed to be a tiny tick of time. Son of God had an idea that crept into eternity, but it was over before it began. Everything is happening at once. Try that one on. Carpet rolled out and rolled back again in an instant. That's the kicker there. So can the world end when it didn't begin? And why is this section in here? And I thought of this. It's simple. We don't believe it. We don't believe it. Like Helen Schuckman said, and I'm with her on this. I don't believe it, but I know it's true. That's really cool. Anyway, A Course in Miracles is fraught with paradox. Let's look at what Jesus said in his formal encapsulated symbols on this subject. Let's go to page 36 in the Manual for Teachers. How will the world end, if you will, please? And while we're doing that, anything I've talked about or we've talked about so far? Please? Or not?
I just want to say, I don't know why this came to my mind, but we were talking about how Jesus is lying to us or talking to us where we are. And I had somebody, a good teacher once said that lying for one's own benefit is piracy, but lying for another's benefit is teaching. And I just think that is I like that. So wanted to share it.
That's fun.
Oh, that's good. Anyone else? I have one on that one from Wapnick. He basically says, be kind. Be kind always. And if it takes a lie, it's okay. He told this story maybe one or two times that I heard it. If you walk into this is kind of loosely what he said, but the content is the same. If you walk into a hotel room and you're an atheist, if you walk into a hospital room and you're an atheist, and the person is in really bad shape and they're really hurting, and they're an evangelical, and they want you to read the Bible with them, even though you're an atheist, you don't have to tell them you're an atheist. And you don't have to say, I don't do that. You just sit down and read the Bible with them. You don't have to say anything. Just whatever's the kindest thing at the time, whatever is a loving thought that might come to you, and that loving thought will come to you. For me, almost every time I remember to ask for help in that moment, or if I've remembered in the morning to ask to be taught. Whatever needs to be taught that way, to see my brothers, without judgment, and to be kind and thoughtful all day. Good luck with that. There are a lot of weird people out there. I'm just kidding. I'm one of them. Anyway, I'm not telling y'all anything you don't know. I mean, good golly, the whole world is insane. I was so glad to see that when I got to this course. It was like, everybody's insane? Yeah, well, I've been saying that for years, and I was just wondering if it was true. Then you get to the psychotherapy pamphlet, and, for at least 40 years, I've been saying, that's our most inexact science, that psychotherapy thing, because we never know what anybody's thinking and how that works. Anyway, okay, so first paragraph. I don't know if I should go straight down the line here or not, but Maurice, you were next in. Would you like to read the first paragraph for us, please, Maurice?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
How will the world end? Can what has no beginning really end? The world will end in an illusion as it began. Yet will its ending be an illusion of mercy, the illusion of forgiveness, complete excluding no one, limitless in gentleness, will cover it, hiding all evil, concealing all sin, and ending guilt forever. So ends the world that guilt had made, for now it has no purpose and is gone. The father of illusions is the belief that they have a purpose, that they serve a need or gratify a want. Perceived as purposeless, they are no longer seen. Their uselessness is recognized and they are gone. How but in this way are illusions ended? They have been brought to truth, and truth saw them not. It merely overlooked the meaningless. I think that's what we're trying to do every single day, is bringing whatever nightmares we have to the light, or asking for the light. But we have to bring those nightmares, and they are illusions, but they disappear. They do disappear when you ask for help. Maybe just for a few minutes, but they do. And that's how the world ends, just one little moment at a time like that. It does end for us every day or every moment that we do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Aris. That's really helpful. Looking forward to that happening for me more. This is a cool paragraph. Anybody got anything else on this paragraph?
I was curious what Brian thinks of this paragraph. If he's willing to.
Sure.
Sure.
I really appreciated sentence 7 there. Perceived as purposeless, they are no longer seen. Julie, just kind of bringing it back to this this idea of projection and what we're sending out of our own mind into the world and its relationship to guilt. Their uselessness is recognized and they are gone. And it's just really powerful. I don't have much more thoughts than that.
Thank you, Brian. It really can be that simple, I guess. It's not that simple for me usually, but every once in a while it is, and it feels really peaceful. Oh, hi, Lynn.
What just struck me with that sentence, Brian, their uselessness is recognized. That's what we're doing. As Aris was saying, with every moment of every day that we choose to remember what we're learning, we are recognizing that we don't want it anymore. It's like, as long as the world is serving a purpose to give me my identity and be able to blame somebody for it, then I'm going to keep the darn thing going as long as I can. But when I really see that it doesn't serve me, doesn't bring me peace, doesn't bring me joy, then it's useless to me. Just that idea that I could think that something is useless, something as big as the world, as big as the dream, as big as the illusion, that my mind as a decision maker can see that. It's an amazingly powerful idea.
Yeah, it really gets to the core of it.
Yes.
I was thinking when Lynn was talking that I don't know, I almost feel, I don't know if playful is the right word, but I mean, we're looking at this crazy stuff and we're kind of smiling at it, I mean, it's just not that it's useless, but it's like, like instead of, I mean, it would be, in the Thursday night class, we've been talking about as we move through this, spiritual unfolding process, we have a tendency to get mad at ourselves for being this stupid, like for hanging on to this crazy stuff. But then at some point, it's like the absurdity hits us, and it's like it's not a big deal because nothing was affected. Jesus didn't go anywhere. It's not just useless, but I mean, it didn't change. It didn't change in any way at all who we truly are, and we're still okay. And it becomes kind of silly then. And then we can make jokes about Jesus lying to us and stuff. I mean, it's just, I mean, what else can he do? If we think we're here, we think this stuff is real. Yeah, he's just like coming into the hospital room and he's picking up the Bible and reading it with us. Because we think there is a hospital room. We think there is a Bible. We think we are sick. Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
Thank you, Tim. That's good. Thank you, Lynn. Maurice.
Yeah, the thing that brought me to the course was the title of the book and then reading Gary Renard's book, Disappearance of the Universe. And that what that means, as we all know, is that very thing that as Maurice takes a moment to go, oh my gosh, I hate my neighbor. No, I don't hate my neighbor. I hate myself. Poor me. I hate myself. I'm so bad. And then I stop in the middle and I'm going, I'm not getting anywhere with this and it doesn't feel good. I'm going to let it go. That disappears. That part of my universe disappears. Slowly but surely, all this disappears. I love the title of that.
Excellent. Thank you, Maurice. Javiera.
Yeah, I understand that what Oris was saying, and I totally agree with that disappeared. But the belief that we are living in an illusion, I don't know, and this is a question, I'm just starting, but this is a question for who's willing to answer. How does it feel daily to think or to believe that we are living in an illusion? I mean, how do you live your life, your daily, you go to work, you take decisions, COVID is around. How do you live this illusion that looks so real?
Excellent question, Javiera. Suzanne.
No scientist here, but I think about that all the time, which is why I wanted to speak to your question, which I love that question. And what I've learned with that and trying to remind myself of all the time is even in quantum physics, that the scientific community backs up that this is an illusion. It's, that everything we see is actually in motion. Quantum physics says that we only touch this table because we are in a vibrational frequency with it. So in reality, everything's an illusion. Albert Einstein even said that life is an illusion, albeit a persistent one. So when I find that science backs this up, it's not just because it's hard to get these theories in our minds. And every day I tell myself I'm only walking on the ground because I'm vibrating at the same frequency, and that changes everything. So that's just a little bit.
Yeah.
Thank you, Suzanne.
So I think there was like two parts to the question. One was, how do we recognize it's an illusion? And then the other part is, how does that feel when we do it? So there is a workbook that addresses the feel part. It says your forehead's a little more serene. You go through your day much lighter, much less crazy. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the gist of it. And then how do we get there? We don't have to go around telling ourselves this is an illusion. That's sort of like the good practical part of the course. But what we do have to do, and what we get resistant about doing, is taking our judgments that we're having every second, if we're in ego mode, and we're willing to look at those judgments and ask for help to lay them down. So I don't have to go far. I don't have to go say this is an illusion. I'm not a body. I am free. That's all true. But the way I actually recognize that is I just take whoever it is that's pushing my buttons right this second, family member, political figure, the weather, something gigantic like climate change, and who in the hell is responsible for that? But whatever it is that's pushing my buttons in this moment is the doorway back, is the way to have an experience. If I go there, if I'm willing to see with Jesus that I'm not being victimized by this situation. I'm not a victim of the world I see. If I'm willing to see that with Jesus and have a different experience of you and a different experience of me, then the awareness that this might just be an illusion begins to sink in. Because the first illusion is I'm upset for the reason I think. That's just not true. I'm never upset for the reason I think. That's the first illusion we deal with. And I point at somebody and I say, you're the problem. But you're not the problem. I mean, what if it's true that you're just a projection of something going on inside of me and I'm the one that projected it?
And what if it's not?
Yeah, right. Well, we're pretty sure it's not. but you know, give the other side of the fence a break. what if it is true? Because if it's not true, then we're screwed. Everybody has influence over everybody. So
Yeah,
I'm
and that
gonna
matter
be
is,
yeah.
and that matter is good to think that it's an illusion. But even if you feel great, those moments, because I have think about it. So okay, I feel so good right now, for example, but this is an illusion. Oh, that's sad. So it's good to think that it's an illusion when you're not feeling good. Okay, who's my teacher right now, and come back to love. But when you're in love, it's like, oh, this is an illusion too. So not good. But it's okay. I'm sorry, but I have to go soon. So
Oh, at least listen to what Bruce is about to say,
Yeah.
because you're
Well-
going to be changed forever.
Yeah, we'll miss you, Javier, and thanks for your question. It was helpful. And it was Abe and then Bruce.
Yeah, so I think we can do an experiment that tests the hypothesis that this is an illusion or not. And the experiment goes like this. Consider a situation and then evaluate whether changing your thoughts about the situation changes how you perceive it. And I'll give you an example that's specific. Suppose that this is actually from Wayne Dyer, one of his books. They went into the Amazon jungle, these people, with a truck and ran into one of these tribes that had never seen a vehicle before. So they offered them a ride on the back of the truck. And of course, this is a muddy, rutted road. So these people, the natives in the back are bouncing off. And in one of the potholes, a couple of them just flew out of the truck and landed on the ground. And when they land on the ground, they're laughing and they're thinking this is the greatest thing ever. It's because to them, this was not an accident. This was a new experience, a joyride. So in their head, that is a good thing. In our head, we would have thought that was an accident. So that tells you that what's in your head determines your reaction to what seems to be happening out there. So therefore, we are reacting to an illusion.
Thank you, Abe. Excellent. I know that's helpful. Bruce.
Yeah, I'm also thinking about Javier's question, and I think it's such an important one because it seems like it's so easy to think that we're giving up something or having to sacrifice by thinking that the world's an illusion. But what I find helpful is, when it clicks for me, is it's like all the separate pieces, all the individuals that I think are separate from me. That's the illusion. But the capital S self is kind of what we're all returning to, and these groups are a great example, is the collective shared mind that we never left, that we never fragmented, but we thought we did. There's a joyousness and a peace to that we can't even fathom, but we get little glimpses of. And that's so much more wonderful than anything we can imagine. But we're returning to that. And I think when we forgive and we have those little moments of peace, it's like, oh yeah, I'm not giving up anything. the only thing I'm giving up is the idea of sacrifice. And of course, I think spells that out in a lot of different ways. So rather than thinking of having to relinquish something when the universe disappeared, well, it's just the universe of separate stuff. But the real universe, the capital U, oneness universe, is really what we're returning back to. At least that's how I find it helpful to think of that. So it's not giving up nothing and gaining everything. Thanks.
Thank you, Bruce. Comprehensive. Excellent. All right. Next paragraph. What do you think, Sakina? How you doing today? You want to read paragraph 2?
Until forgiveness is complete, the world does have a purpose. It becomes a home in which forgiveness is born, and where it grows and becomes stronger and more all-embracing. Here is it nourished, for here it is needed. A gentle Savior born, where sin was made and guilt seemed real. Here's home, for here there is need of him indeed. He brings the ending of the world with him. In his calls, God's teachers answer, turning to him in silence to receive his word. The world will end when all things it has been rightly judged by his judgment. No, excuse me. The world will end when all things in it have been rightly judged by his judgment. The world will end with the benediction of holiness upon it. When not one thought of sin remains, the world is over. It will not destroy, nor attacked, nor even touched. It will merely cease to seem to be. I think that the first 2 sentences sums it all up. Until forgiveness is complete, the world does have a purpose. And it becomes a home which forgiveness is born. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, me too, Sakina. I like those first 2 sentences. It kind of brackets the paragraph. But that's where, for me, when I read this, it was the first forgiveness has a purpose. So it has to be here. And it's a really positive thing. And then the last 2 sentences, it will not be destroyed, nor attacked, nor even touched. It will merely cease to be. So in both places, it's really positive when, with forgiveness being in the world. But it kind of scared me where it says the thing about sin. That you have to sin has to be completely gone. I mean, everywhere, with everyone, right? Am I reading that right?
I think we've come to understand that there was no sin to begin with.
Excellent. Yeah, true. Thank you. Perfect. Anyone else on this paragraph? Oh, I'm sorry. Sakina, you're still, did you have some more to say? No? Okay. All right. Bruce.
I think that the one word that I think you might have skipped over, Stephen, in reading that last sentence, that to me, I think is the most important word. It will merely cease to seem to be.
I have that one word underlined.
That seem is like, there's so many places in the course where the word seen or appears, it's kind of like, well, this is like part of that hallucination stuff again. It's like, well, I'm hallucinating this whole thing of separate stuff, but it's just one thing. So it's only because I seem to see these specific, separate, special substitutes. Those are my three favorite words for sin: specialness, substitution, separation. Because they all have the letters S-I-N, but that word "seem" is like such a good clue, I think. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Bruce.
I was thinking there's two things going on, in terms of everything we were talking about. One definite, of course, definite is the world's already over. And the second definite is the only thing that's keeping me from seeing that is me. I mean, the end of the world will happen when I realize the world's already over. So, I mean, it's not like the whole world has to get on board on the soul train to wherever and wake up. The world's only real, or seems real, because I think it's real. The end of the world will happen, and that kind of like, without being attacked, without being touched, without being a big deal. It's just, I'll realize it's not real in the first place. That's when it's over. Yeah.
Good point. Thank you. Paragraph 3. What do you think, Usmani? Want to read that one, please?
Sure.
If you'd
My,
like.
yeah, of course. Is my sound okay?
It's perfect. Thank you.
Paragraph 3. Certainly, this seems to be a long, long while away, when not one thought of sin remains. Appears to be a long-range goal indeed, but time stands still and waits on the goal of God's teachers. No one thought of sin will remain the instant any one of them accepts atonement for himself. It is no easier to forgive one sin than to forgive all of them. The illusion of orders of difficulty is an obstacle that the teacher of God must learn to pass by and leave behind. One sin perfectly forgiven by one teacher of God can make salvation complete. Can you understand this? No. It is meaningless to anyone here. Yet it is the final lesson in which unity is restored. It goes against all the thinking of the world, but so does heaven.
Nancy Reagan was right. Just say no.
Oh, wow. This is a beautiful paragraph. I love the way in the first paragraph also Jesus speaks about the father of all illusions, that guilt has a purpose. And in this paragraph, it just says that everything has to go. Our need for guilt, our need for sin, the need to become a body or to be a body, and especially the illusion of orders of difficulty. And I just love the question. Can you understand this? And it seems like in, space and time, we still don't know, otherwise we would not be here. But yeah, we're still in the process though. So thank you, Stephen. Such a beautiful.
Thank you, Usmani. Excellent. Lisa.
I'm just struck by sentences 4 and 7. Not one thought of sin will remain the instant any one of them accepts atonement for himself. And then 7, one sin perfectly forgiven by one teacher of God can make salvation complete. So it's only us. Just one.
You're on.
Interesting, huh? Yeah, I've got some notes on each of these paragraphs, and that's the stuff I looked at. Bruce, go ahead, please.
Yeah, just real quick. What we just talked about, my favorite way of looking at this is I'm the only one that's the foot dragger. Everyone else is already home because perfect oneness already is true, and it's only my mind that needs healing. I'm the only one playing hooky. So that helps in a lot of ways, certainly by starting with the fact that I don't need to worry about anybody else's progress or whatever. And certainly don't understand, what's going on in anyone else's mind. So I just need to look at my own and ask Holy Spirit for help with my thoughts. Thanks.
I was just thinking that the third question that Javier was asking was, it didn't occur to me at first, but what if you don't want this to be an illusion? It's not just what if it's everything the Course is saying is not true. What if you don't want it to be an illusion? There's lots of things about this illusion that we like. Mm-hmm. We're the foot draggers. We don't want it to be an illusion. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those two sentences that Elisa was talking about, that was just what we were talking about before, that it's, it's all, it seems to be all on me. But then, back to that seems to, Bruce, everything seems to. Everything here is magic. Everything here is idols. Mm-hmm. Everything. Good golly. Anyone else on this one? Suzanne?
I guess then, so since the world is over long ago, we reached that point, right? And now we're just catching up to it. Is that right? Maybe that's up there for us to all. Obviously, it happened, right?
There was a tiny tick of time. And, there was an idea that crept into eternity. But, for what you're saying right there, for me, I get really caught up in this. So when I see, can you understand this? No, that really helps me because I'm trying to figure it out all the time. I mean, not the whole time, but more than I would like to. For example, when I did this paragraph, I did, I'm on this a parallel with you today, Lisa. I did line 4 and line 7. And so I said to myself, well, Jesus accepted atonement for himself, and we're all still here. And what good did it do? And, I did that negative thing, but I also said, what the heck? The great thing about doing these things is it's not in the Course that Jesus accepted atonement for himself. I thought he did. I thought that very sentence was in there. It's not in there. What it says is that he was the first to complete his own part perfectly. And he set the atonement principle in motion. What does that mean? Anybody can pick it up at any particular time, or that's rhetorical. Who knows? This is one of those don't get me started things. Hi, Lynn.
It occurs to me that a lot of these sentences and thoughts are like koans they make your mind, your thinking mind, your rational mind, your plotting and planning and scheming mind come to a stop because they don't make sense to our normal way of thinking about things and the way we want to organize and try to come to some understanding. And that stopping is part of what opens the door to our awareness of being a mind. We may still be thinking with our little brain that we're Lynn or Joe or whoever, but there is a part of the mind that is like, I don't know, it's like getting a shock. It can't go into this territory. The ego can't go there. And so there's a little space that we experience. And again, we're using dualistic imagery and metaphors to help us understand something that our brains just can't get. But I think all of us, I mean, I hear people here talking, we feel something when we hear the good news that the world was over long ago. There's some part of us that is joyful beyond any good way of expressing it, to hear that, even though we can't think about it and make sense of it with our normal everyday thinking.
Perfect, Lynn. Thank you. Kind of ties it together. All right, we've got about 14, 15 minutes left. We have to get to the last paragraph because it's really beautiful. Whatever, Aswati said that. It's a really beautiful paragraph. It really is. You'll like it, Aswati. Let's see, paragraph 4. I really have to say, anything else on this paragraph? And we're, yeah. Sorry. Margot, how you doing? Would you like to read paragraph 4, please?
Hi, Stephen. Sure.
Thanks.
The world will end when its thought system has been completely reversed. Until then, bits and pieces of its thinking will still seem sensible. The final lesson, which brings the ending of the world, cannot be grasped by those who not yet prepared to leave the world and go beyond its tiny reach. What then is the function of the teacher of God in this concluding lesson? He need merely learn how to approach it, to be willing to go in its direction. He need merely trust that if God's voice tells him it is a lesson he can learn it. He does not judge it either as hard or easy. His teacher points to it, and he trusts that he will show him how to learn it. So what caught my attention the most was the last sentence, that we really need to trust in God, which I think most of the time we forget. But it's beautiful. I mean, once we trust, we can see everyone as one, everyone as God. And that's a function of the teacher of God.
Thank you, Margot.
Thank you.
I got that too. It's about trust and several other things. Anybody else on this paragraph? I thought it was a really interesting paragraph.
I was thinking the other day, I don't know whose class it was, but the idea of Jesus is like a tour guide through the mind, is like, because, I mean, like if you go to a foreign country and you hire a tour guide, you just assume and you trust that he's going to know more than you do. And he's going to point you to things that he thinks are really interesting. And you kind of trust him. You trust him, you're willing to give him a shot anyway. You're willing to have him point at something that might be interesting, because you don't know what you're looking for. I mean, Jesus is really a tour guide. Like, he's pointing the way. He's pointing his finger, and it's like, it's like, well, why? I asked him to be my guide. I might as well at least give him a shot and see what he's telling me to do here, or tell me what to look at, tell me how to get there. I mean, we go to foreign countries. We do this all the time. We invest in tour guides. Well, this is like foreign territory for us as an ego. This is all new territory. We need a tour guide into all this crazy stuff. And we got to be willing to give them a chance. Otherwise, don't go. I mean, we're not stay home. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. When I was doing this today, there are 2 paragraphs like this. There's a lot of vagary in this, just merely learn how to approach it. Well, yeah, that's kind of, those are the kind of things you seem to be talking about there, Tim, but to be willing to go in its direction. Okay, fine. But this whole course for me is guidance and instructions. And I like it when I get something a little more, that I can that I can follow a little more closely. I understand this is all about trust and everything, but I want something more clear to help me to know which way to go, especially about atonement and things like that. You know, all I have to do is give up sin. That one thing, you know, and I don't know. All it takes is one guy. Okay, I'll be that. How do I do that? You know what I mean? I step back and I go, why can't you be a little more clear with me? And he just smiles. That's okay. That's why one of the 10 characteristics of a teacher of God is patience. I can wait. Thank you all for listening. Anything else on this paragraph? That happens to me in classes no matter what. Hi, Brian.
I thought it was really interested in sentence 2, where it says, until then, bits and pieces of its thinking will still seem sensible. That's a nice contrast to this idea of the final lesson and the previous, where it's basically unity is restored, where there's kind of only one thing, where it's simple and one. And it's still kind of just reminding you that we're operating in these bits and pieces where everything's separate and everything is having individual meaning and hierarchy of meanings, and all this stuff is still going on. And kind of brings it back to that perception. It's like there's still these bits and pieces that are rattling around, you know, in our minds, and that we're these little brains, you know, running around with them. And I just thought it was a clever way of kind of showing the contrast.
Yeah, good point, Brian. No one's ever been, or I don't think will ever be, as clever as Jesus is in this course. It's a beautiful thing, really.
Back in the early days, excuse me, in Roscoe, you know, we all be hanging out, and we were starting to get, you know, the idea of special hate relationships. Like, you know, it might be nice not to go through life hating people, hating what people did, and that's, you know, it began to have like a ring of value to it. You know, like that sounded pretty good. But then we started looking at, but he's talking about this special love stuff too, and I don't know about that. Like when Javier said, oh, why would I want to give up romance? Why would I want that to be an illusion? These bits and pieces of my thinking that still seem pretty good, not just sensible, but this stuff seems pretty good. I got to give that up too? You got to be kidding. It's the only thing that's making it worth it right now. But I mean, the big, you know, wake up is all those special love relationships were just little devious subplots to keep me like hooked until they all went bad. Then I could really blame somebody else. So, I mean, that was a whole nother saga to undo itself. But at first it was like, yeah, special hate. Yeah, I should probably give that up. Special love, I don't know about that. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's good. What Wapnick says, he says this a bunch of times. He says, look, if your life's going well, and you know you're peaceful, and you know everything's kind of good, and you know you're not really having anything serious, you don't want to do this course. You don't need this course. You know, we need this course because we know that what Wapnick says and what Jesus says is true. One of my favorite things that I ever heard Watney say was, "This is not a nice place. Nice people don't come here." I thought, what? That's not very, yeah. But now that I've been doing the course for a while, I know that that's true. But don't say that to regular people. I don't think would be a good idea. But who knows? Maybe so.
Back in Roscoe, I was whining to Ken about something, and he goes, well, then just throw the book down. And he actually took his book and he threw it down. He started stamping on it. Like, you don't have to do this.
Maurice.
You know, I can understand Javier's question because like I keep saying, I only came to the course about 5 years ago to a group, and it was in person, and I asked that same question. I looked around at these people, and I wanted to know, how do you live this in a real practical everyday way? How do you do this? How do you do it? Um, and I needed somebody to say what I found out now. Well, every day, whenever I catch myself, that's how I do. I think everybody should be able to tell how they do it. But for me, it's every day when I catch myself, either, judging somebody else and feeling angry about it, or myself, then that's when I need to do whatever I'm going to do, pray in whatever way, ask the Holy Spirit. Uh, it's that moment. And I may not feel better that moment. May I have to do that for several days. It's happened to me where I don't feel any different. And nobody ever said that to me. I thought, well, I'm doing something wrong. And why aren't you people floating on clouds? I mean, it really is a practical thing for me. And I'm only beginning now to be able to see those 3 steps clearly. And that only then when I can see it, that's the part of it, is seeing it. And I guess being in the observers, the quantum physics calls it the observer, and the course calls it the decision maker. But being this observer in my own life and seeing it and watching myself, and then letting that go, because I want to condemn myself. I want to say I'm doing wrong. I want to blame the course that it's not working. At that point is where I go, okay, I see it, and I give it to you, Holy Spirit. And then I just have to do that over and over again. It's not, that's very practical, but I needed to put my boots on and be able to walk through this mud every day, because for me it is more mud than anything right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Maurice. You're very hopeful for me today. I'm getting a lot of hope from the things you're saying. Thank you.
These boots are made for walking. That's just what they'll do. I
Nancy
think
Sinatra.
she meant something different.
I like Terry.
Yeah, they're for kicking, kicking, you know what? And I just have to watch myself. I have so much anger. I have rage, whatever lesson we recently went through that said to look at that. Wow, that I'm not just when I'm just mildly irritated, I have to stop and realize there's really a huge lion in there. Angry is at everybody. And I'm admitting that, and I needed to hear other people. Are you floating along, or do you have these struggles? I mean, we really need to get in those boots together and go through this muddy water. Thank you.
Thank you, Maurice. Bruce.
Just the immediate response to that is, we're all fighting the same hard battles. It's been said. We're all in the same boat. And that's why I think the support that we can share with each other is so helpful.
Thank you, Bruce. Maurice, that's money. Excuse me.
Thank you. When we were talking about, when Maurice was talking about how do we live, our daily lives, and after Javiera's question, there is a phrase, I don't know if it's going to make any sense to you guys in English, but I like to think that I am in the same site, but in a different place. So everything around me seems to be the same. My relationships, they seem to be the same around me, but they are not, because my mind is in a completely different place. So it's like the same site, different place. In Spanish will be mismo sitio, distinto lugar. I don't know if it makes any sense. Thank you.
Sounds beautiful. Thank you. All right, y'all. We're at 8:16 or so, and we're at this last paragraph. It's a beautiful paragraph. I would like to talk about it, but we're at an end, I think. I guess we could we could read it and then look around. If anyone has anything they really want to say, I'm fine with staying here until, like, I don't know, hour or two overtime if y'all would like. I got nothing to do. I'm just a pretty boring guy. Anyway, so let's see, Brian, would you like to read that last paragraph for us, please? And comment if you like.
Sure. The world will end in joy because it is a place of sorrow. When joy has come, the purpose of the world has gone. The world will end in peace because it is a place of war. When peace has come, what is the purpose of the world? The world will end in laughter because it is a place of tears. Where there is laughter, who can longer weep? And only complete forgiveness brings all this to bless the world. In blessing it departs, for it will not end as it began. To turn hell into heaven is the function of God's teachers. For what they teach are lessons in which heaven is reflected. And now sit down in true humility and realize that all God would have you do, you can do. Do not be arrogant and say you cannot learn his own curriculum. His word says otherwise. His will be done. It cannot be otherwise. And be you thankful it is so. Yeah, there's a lot going on in that paragraph. It actually reminds me of a previous thing. Section 3, number 7. One sin perfectly forgiven by one teacher of God can make salvation complete. This idea that we're all teachers through this forgiveness process, and it's that that one sin perfectly forgiven is that kind of turning hell into heaven. That's what I got while reading it. But there's a lot going on in here.
Yeah, that's good. It brings it back around. That sentence about the sin, and it's it's kind of up to me. Wait a minute, how's that going to work? But yeah, thank you, Brian. Excellent. Anyone else?
There's a hysterical Seth Rogen movie called The End of the World, and he got all his buddies, his actor buddies, to be in it. Jonah Hill's in there, some other guys I don't remember, and oh yeah, the girl from Harry Potter was in there. So, and they're all hanging out, but the world begins to end, and of course the front yard cracks open, and all the bad people, especially all the bad Hollywood people, start falling into the crack. And of course, only a few are going to be saved. And Seth Rogen is trying to do everything he can to be saved. But so, I mean, that's kind of the standard image of the end of the world, and certainly the apocalypse and all that kind of stuff. But here it's like the world's going to end in joy. The world's going to end in peace. The world's going to end in laughter. It's certainly not the end of the world that, as egos, we crave for that image of the apocalypse. We crave that image of punishment. And he's like, nah, nah. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, he's always saying it's going to be okay. It's all right. Suzanne, you had something? Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, thanks. Along the same lines, just you can do it. So even though lots of this seems like I can't quite get it, I'll get it. I got this. So that makes me feel great.
Yeah,
We've got this.
we've got this. Yeah, we cannot fail. Over and over. Anyone else? Okay. Oh, Lynn?
Yeah, it's a nice rebuttal to the, can you understand this? No, but you can learn how to do this. And that's, thank you, God.
Excellent. All right, we have to.
So wait. What does look? So I think Aries should answer this one. What does sitting down in true humility look like? I mean, do you get like a bathtub full of true humility, and you just gotta slide into it?
It's like, stop. I mean, I really hear that too. It's like, now quit saying you can't do this. You can. You know, I mean, true humility is not saying, oh, I can't do that. You know, I can. You can.
So it's like sit down and shut up. Just sit down. And let me tell you how you can do it. That's good.
Anyone else? Beautiful. All right, let's take 29 seconds. Why? It's arbitrary. And then we'll say goodnight. If you will, please. I'll come right back. Thank you. Come back. Please excuse me. That was 32 seconds.
I'm never coming back, Stephen.
3 seconds, I'll never get back.
We're a forgiving bunch.
Thank y'all for doing this with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you, everybody. Great class.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
Stephen.
Oh, see you. Good
See
night.
y'all tomorrow.